your entire life that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. You can feel it.
Get up on out the bed and start to move your balls. Wake up a word in Solomon Jones. Word. You better wake up now.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you to another edition of Wake Up with Word. Well, Kuwait the Eagles lost yesterday, but I have on my Eagles hoodie anyway because Jalen Hurts is the truth.
He is.
Your thoughts?
He is. No, he's doing really well. I'm liking what I'm seeing on the field. I know that I've been seeing a couple articles saying that, Carson Wentz is kind of feeling some type of way. But, listen, we do what we got to do to make sure that we are in there and making the moves and making the plays that we need to. And right now, Jalen Hurts is hot right now. So
yeah,
you have to have a seat, Wentz. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sit down, relax, and enjoy the ride. And we'll see what happens at the end of the season. But, I think there's one thing we all need to realize after yesterday's nail-biter against the Arizona Cardinals. Jalen Hurts can play. He's doing things that Carson Wentz has not done in years, and he's doing them in a way that makes it clear how good the team can be with good quarterback play. So if Hurts can continue this level of play through the next couple of games, Jeff Lurie and everybody down at the NovaCare complex is going to have some serious decisions to make at season's end, because it's clear to me that if Hurts is the real deal, we can't keep both Wentz and Hurts, and in my view, Wentz should probably be the one to go. And in political news, it feels like we're stuck in the movie Groundhog Day, where we just keep living the same day over and over and over again, because the Trump campaign is not only talking about using martial law to try to overturn the election, they're talking about trying to get the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn decisions by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that would basically invalidate 110,000 votes. It's sad to see this president try to destroy our democracy. I only hope we won't just stand by and watch. We got a hot show for you today on Wake Up with Word. Tremaine Joseph Hicks and his attorney Susan Lynn join us to talk about Hicks being released from prison after serving 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. Nafis Norris shares his inspiring story, becoming the first African-American student to be accepted into a new biopharmaceutical program at Thomas Jefferson University. And lawyer, critical race theorist Dr. Tim Golden talks about the racial and legal implications of the Trump administration, talking about implementing martial law. And as always, we've got you, our listeners, calling in at 215-634-8065. A toll-free 1-866-361-0900. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at onWURD, or you can hit me personally at Solomon Jones 1. Watch us on Facebook at forward. But first, it's the big three, the news stories you need to know to kick off your day right here on Wake Up with Word. Story number one, congressional leaders yesterday reached a mammoth deal to fund the government and provide long-sought coronavirus relief as lawmakers race to wrap up their work for the year. The deal will tie a $1.4 trillion bill to fund the government until October 1st to roughly $900 billion in coronavirus aid. In order to give Congress time to process and finalize the agreement, they are expected to pass a one-day stopgap bill with the House to take up the agreement today. For the information of all senators, and more importantly for the American people, we can finally report what our nation has needed to hear for a very long time. More help is on the way. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said last night from the Senate floor. Senate Minority Leader Charles Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi put out a joint statement confirming the deal, and it was hashed out by four top congressional leaders. It does not include more money directly for state and local governments or protections against coronavirus-related lawsuits, a top priority for Democrats and McConnell, respectively. It does include another round of small business aid through the Paycheck Protection Program, a $300 per week unemployment benefit, a pared-down $600 second round of stimulus checks, and more money for things such as schools, coronavirus testing, and vaccine distribution. Koi, so what do you think?
I still feel like it's not enough for regular everyday people. Like, it just isn't. It really isn't. I know I said this last week, but, you know, if I was out of work, $600 would do nothing for me. It really wouldn't. That doesn't even, that barely covers my student loan. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad that they were able to pass something, but I really do not understand why they cannot pass bills that will really, really help the American people. I understand that, you know, businesses need money. I understand that folks need help, but we have to remember that millions of dollars went to businesses that didn't even need the money. And so I just need to, you know, really put that out there, that $600 is nothing for people who have been out here struggling, especially for all these months since the last time you gave us that little bit of change, you know. So
600, that's right. $600 ain't even gonna keep a roof over your head for a month. You know, for real. So, you know, I think that if they want businesses to get money, and that's fine. I think they should give small businesses money. I don't want to see any of our small businesses fail. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? If you give the money to the people going to spend the money with the businesses. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you give money to people who actually need it, guess what they're going to do with it? They're going to spend it. They're not going to put it in the bank. They're not going to put it under a mattress. They're not going to hide it under a rock. They're going to spend it. They're going to buy gas. They're going to buy the insurance that they need for their car. They're going to buy, they're going to pay their rent. They're going to pay their mortgage, right? They're going to buy food, right? They're going to spend that money. If you want money to go into the economy, then give it to the people who need it and watch them spend it. I'm seeing that with a whole lot of government stuff, man. You giving money to people who don't really need it because they're your cronies or they're your supporters or they're your donors or whatever. No, if you really want to jumpstart the economy, get the money to the people and watch them spend it. That's the way I see it. Which brings me to story number 2. Grocery store workers, teachers, daycare staffers, and other people on the front lines of America's workforce should be next to get the coronavirus vaccine, along with adults over 75. That's what a federal advisory panel said yesterday. The recommendations, which come 2 days after regulators authorized the second coronavirus vaccine, will guide state authorities in deciding who should have priority to receive limited doses of vaccines made by Pfizer and Moderna. The groups designated Sunday total about 49 million people and were deemed the next highest priority by the expert advisory panel to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention because the vaccine remains in short supply. An estimated 30 million frontline essential workers labor in meat plants, grocery stores, prisons, public transit, and other key areas and cannot work remotely. They are a priority because they play a critical role in keeping society functioning, and they live or work in high-risk, high-transmissions communities. Adults 75 and older, about 19 million people were also included in this priority group because they account for 25% of hospitalizations and a significant share of deaths from COVID-19. And so what they're saying sounds to me, if they talking about grocery store workers, prison guards, bus drivers, teachers, daycare staffers, sound to me like they talking about some black folks gonna get in there. That's what it sounds like to me. Now the question is, will those black folks want to take it? Kawesa, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if they'll want to take it, but at the same time, you know, I am glad that they are going to be, you know, in this next round because we need it. We do. I mean, you got all these folks who have been exposed since day one, and they can't afford to take off. They can't afford to not be exposed. And so, you know, I feel that this is necessary for them to be some of the next folks that get it. And so we'll see what happens, but I don't know if black folks are going to step up and volunteer as tribute to get this vaccine. So we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But they are the ones who are getting it and dying from it, people who work in these frontline jobs, which brings me to story number 3. Thank God we are in the final days of the Trump administration, but I'm concerned because reports say the president's aides are talking about using martial law to try to overturn Trump's election laws. Trump called the reports fake news in a tweet, but the fact that martial law was even mentioned is crazy because while we don't generally overturn elections in America, we're going to spend years trying to overturn the racism awakened by Trump. Because in truth, this is not just about an election, it's about attacking black voting rights. It was blacks, after all, who resurrected Joe Biden's campaign in South Carolina. It was blacks in Milwaukee who gave Biden Wisconsin, blacks in Philly who gave Biden Pennsylvania, blacks in Detroit who gave Biden Michigan, and blacks in Atlanta who gave Biden Georgia. That's why in the all-important Senate runoff that's happening in Georgia in January, Republicans are focusing on the black candidate, a pastor named Raphael Warnock, who preaches in the same church Martin Luther King did. They're calling him a socialist and a radical, just like they did to Martin Luther King. They're saying he hates America, just like they did to Martin Luther King. And while his opponent takes pictures with former Klan leaders, she's focusing her hate on Warnock as an attack against black folks in general, just like they did to Martin Luther King. At a time when Black Lives Matter signs are ripped down from churches in D.C., when a black family in Texas has their car set on fire and Trump graffiti painted on their garage, on a time when black people are being forced out of their communities, we have to stand up against hate, stand up for our people, and yes, stand up for our country. Because we built America with our bare hands, we can't allow Trump to tear it down. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. So should grocery store workers, teachers, bus drivers, people on the front lines, including a whole lot of black folks who work in those industries, be the next to get the corona vaccine? And if you work in those industries, I want to hear from you. Are you going to take it? Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. There is a $1.4 trillion deal, right, to fund the government until October 1st. And also another $900 billion in coronavirus aid, right? That's a whole lot of money, ain't it? Why regular people only get $600? I want to hear from you about that as well. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. And of course, you got the president and his crazy aides, including Michael Flynn, who the president just pardoned, Michael Flynn, who should be in prison, talking about they should implement martial law and do a redo of the presidential election in several states. Now, what is martial law for those who don't know? Well, it's the temporary substitution of military authority for civilian rule, and is usually invoked in a time of war or rebellion or natural disaster, right? So when martial law is in effect, the military commander of an area or a country has unlimited authority to make and enforce laws. That means President Trump, as the commander-in-chief, right, would have, would have sway over everything, right? And so I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. When they talk about implementing martial law, I'm less concerned about that happening on the government level than people taking that as a cue to engage in violence. I got to be honest. I'm less concerned about what Trump would do than about his followers, right? I'm less concerned about the government actually trying to implement military rule in the country than I am about his followers who run around here with AR-15s. So I want to know what you think about that, what you think about the language, what you think about the atmosphere that creates, right? And so give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. Kwesa, what do you think about the whole martial law thing?
Yeah, I think that I agree with you in the sense that I don't think that we'll see that much of an issue on a higher up level. But yeah, I'm a little concerned about these, Proud Boys, these folks out here who are really just, pushing so much hate, and they have these agendas about the fact that, Biden didn't win, correctly or the right way. So I think that I'm a little bit more concerned about these folks out here just, thinking that they're rough and tough and big and bad, and they might make life a little bit more difficult for our folks. So that's what I'm a little bit more concerned about, not necessarily what's going to be happening from top, because I have a feeling like we are not going to, have folks who are in power who are going to allow that to happen, at least on the top levels. But on the bottom levels, I'm like, that it makes me a little nervous. It does.
Yeah, so I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show. 215-634-8065 is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. So I also want to hear from grocery store workers, teachers, daycare staffers, bus drivers, prison workers, right? People who have had to go to work through this whole thing, and people who could not take a day off, and people, quite frankly, who are needed in order to run our society. I want to know, will you take the vaccine? Because the CDC panel that decided that, medical care professionals and people who work and live in long-term facilities should be first. Well, they're saying that you should be next. And the question is, are you willing to take the vaccine? I think I'm on the record of saying that when my turn comes around, I know I won't be first, right? So I'll have a chance to kind of sit back, wait, watch, see what happens. But I'm going to take the vaccine. I take a flu vaccine every year. I haven't grown 2 heads. I haven't grown another toe. I'm not crazy. Like, nothing has happened to me as a result of that, other than I have not had the flu. And so I am going to take the vaccine. But I know that there are many in our community, and justifiably, who have questions about that, who say that they don't want to do it, who don't trust the medical industry. And you know what? Black folk got reason not to trust a whole lot of institutions in the United States of America. Real rap, right? But, when the rubber hits the road, my experience with these things has not been bad. My experience with these things has been good. And so, when my turn comes around, and again, I know I'm not going to be first, so I don't have the kind of decisions to make that the next batch of folks do. But are you going to take it? I want to know. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Jacob from Olney is on line 1. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hey, good morning, Brother Solomon.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. I'm going to be taking it because I've been to work. I had to go to work every day since March. I mean, because if nobody was working, how was our children in our school, over 1,000 children, going to receive their computers and stuff to even be online,
Exactly.
So, and like you said, people, when we go to our market, we expect for them shelves to be stocked. Somebody had to do that.
Yep.
The workers. One of the scriptures say, Solomon, my people perish for the lack of wisdom, right? If we're going to be into the same conspiracy type thing as Donald Trump's worshipers, right? Then that's bad, that, they putting chips in the serum or something, all this kind of stuff that go out that make people say, and we all, like you would expect, we know about the Tuskegee experiment, right?
Yep.
We know all about that, but we got to use wisdom. And like you said, when it comes, and I know I ain't going to be in the first ranks, but when my number's called, I'm going to be right in line, rolling my sleeve up, But another one, quite quickly, that 70 million Republicans, Solomon, that choose to go with Trump, they're not really stupid. What they did, they chose white supremacy.
That's right.
Over the democracy in this country, something that will give black people their portion of the pie in this country that we've been fighting for democracy ever since Crispus Attucks, right? But they don't see it that way. They see it that, and why him and Putin, I said this a while back, both of them are white, and both of them are superpowers, and they want to do whatever they can do to keep white supreme on the planet. And if people can't see that, I don't know what's up, But I believe we're going to be all right. Solomon, we come this far, I don't think we're going to stop moving forward, right?
I agree.
All
I
right,
agree.
Solomon, thank
And
you.
I want to thank you, Jacob, as always, for your call this morning on WURD. I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
COVID-19 affected many things this year, including regular vaccinations. Vaccines are safe, effective, and protect against serious diseases. Make sure you and your family are up to date on all vaccinations. Together, we can keep each other safe and healthy. Let's stay protected together. Get vaccinated today. For more information, visit health.pa.gov. Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hi, this is Jeff Brown from Brown's Family ShopRites and Fresh Grocers. Are you thinking about a part-time job to help out with the cost of the holidays? We have plenty of openings. You can apply online at shoprite.com/careers or freshgrocer.com/careers. Come join the Brown family today and help us serve the people of Philadelphia. Have a great holiday.
The Word Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on Word Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the Word Radio newsletter. This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Looking at some volume we have on the Schuylkill Expressway jam, westbound University through the Vine, through that construction. Eastbound delays from City Avenue through the Roosevelt Boulevard. Again, from South Street through University, a bit slow there. Westbound Vine Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Heavy also before that from 95 to Broad. A little slow there with a disabled vehicle. Southbound 95, jam Cotman through Bridge. Again, Betsy Ross through Girard. Northbound looks good. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 now. A bit of a slow ride. Waiting for the perfect reason to join Audible? Here it is, the Audible holiday offer. Get the new all-you-can-listen plan Audible Plus for just $4.95 a month for your first 6 months. Listen without a limit to select Audible originals, audiobooks, and now podcasts. Go to audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and we're taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show. So, they got a $1.4 trillion deal to fund the government. They got a $900 billion deal for coronavirus aid, while regular people only getting a $600 check out of that. I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. And, of course, in the coronavirus vaccine follies, right? You've got grocery store workers, teachers, daycare staffers, and others on the front line of America's workforce. Well, a federal advisory panel said yesterday that they should be the next to get it. And if you're talking about these frontline workers, you're talking about bus drivers. You're talking about people who work in prisons. You're talking about people who work in other key areas who cannot work remotely, right? And they're a priority because they play a critical role in keeping society functioning. And you're also talking about adults, 75 and older. There are about 19 million people. They were also included in this priority group because they account for 25% of hospitalizations and a significant share of deaths from COVID-19. And so these are the people who should be next. And honestly, if you're really talking about who's most affected by this, I think that federal advisory panel is right. But there's a lot of black folks in those groups, and the question is, will they take it? Now, when my turn comes, I'm going to take the vaccine. I take the flu vaccine every year, and nothing has happened to me other than I have not gotten the flu, right? And so I'm going to take it. But I know that there are those in our community who have questions about it, those in our community who are skeptical, those in our community who don't trust anything from the medical industry. And that's fair based on what has happened with black folks in the past, with experiments like the Tuskegee experiments, with you know, the medical industry taking Henrietta Lex's cells and using them to their benefit without ever compensating the family or even really letting them know. And so that's fair, you know, with the experiments around gynecology that were done on black women. I think that's fair. But I think that when I look at what is happening now, and when I look at, you know, the recent history that I have had personally and that my family has had around things like the flu vaccine, which really is the closest thing to this, right? Because both of them are a virus. And so, you know, for me, I'm going to take it when my turn comes. But I know my turn ain't coming right now. So I have the luxury of sitting back and kind of waiting and seeing. And if anything goes left, then, you know, I might reassess. But as for now, the decision that I have made is that, yes, I am going to take it when my turn comes, but I know I ain't first. If you first, if you're the grocery care, if you're the grocery worker, if you're a worker in a meat plant or a prison, if you are a bus driver, if you work in these key areas where you could not take off and cannot take off, but your function is essential, right, to society, are you planning to take it? I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. And finally, my commentary for the day. We're in the final days of the Trump administration, and I'm concerned because reports say the president's aides are talking about using martial law to try to overturn Trump's election loss. Trump called the reports fake news in a tweet, but the fact that martial law was even mentioned is crazy. Because while we don't generally overturn elections in America, we're going to spend years trying to overturn the racism awakened by Trump. I want to know what you think. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. We're also taking your comments on Facebook at 4WURD. That's FORWURD. That's FORWURD. Koesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
So we do have a couple of comments here. Kathleen West says, good morning, Solomon and Koesa. I hope you both had a great weekend. Have a blessed and safe day from West Germantown. So good morning to you, Kathleen. And then we have Joanne Kemp saying, I thought if you're allergic, you don't take it. Doctors note and extra precautions on the job. If not allergic and just refuse, I guess quit or get fired. You have to sign a consent form for the vaccine. So I imagine suing is out. So that's a comment that she has. Arlene Wright is saying, what is this new strain in the UK? We'll probably talk about it a little later. We did have that in the rundown as well. And then also you have someone saying, Donna Torrance saying, I don't think those people will have a choice if they want to stay employed, talking about, I guess, folks being required to have the vaccine. And Arlene Wright is also saying, I have never not taken a vaccine before going back to polio shots, but I will not take this one. So that's just another comment that we have here. And good morning to Tony Freeman, Ed Minner, and also Tom Bryan and Linda Pierce as well. Thank you all so much for joining in and checking us out this morning.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about what was happening here first, right? And given that they're talking about grocery store workers, bus drivers, people who work in prisons, people who work in daycares, people who have really kept society functioning while this whole thing has gone on, that they need to be next, right? And I don't have a problem with that. But I know that there are people, you know, who say, look, I don't want to take it, especially black folks. And black people have great reason not to trust not only the medical industry, but I think institutions across the board in America, because every institution has contributed to the subjugation of, the cheating of, the using of, the killing of black people, right? And so if you talk about you don't trust the medical industry, then guess what? We need to be talking about we don't trust the banking industry. We don't trust the real estate industry. We don't trust the insurance industry, like, because all of these industries have done stuff to black people. The insurance industry did not pay out on claims when they burned down Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. It was like, I'm sorry, I know y'all been paying us, but we ain't paying your claim. That's your insurance industry. Do you not trust them? Do you not have insurance? Right? The banking industry redlined every black community basically in America and said, we are not giving loans in those communities. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what your credit score is. I don't care how much collateral you have. You black, you not getting a loan. Do we not use banks? The real estate industry colluded in making sure that black people were herded into ghettos and that we could not get out. Do you not buy houses? You know, so when I think about the mistrust that black people have, we have reason to mistrust every institution in America. White churches, the reason why Absalom Jones and Richard Allen started their own church, bought their own property, is because white people did not want them worshiping with them. Oh, yeah, y'all can come in, but y'all got to sit in the balcony. Do you not go to church? Movie theaters said black people, y'all got to come in through the back door. Y'all got to sit upstairs. You can't sit with everybody else. Do you not go to the movies? Like, I mean, you know, every institution in America has done stuff to impact the lives of black people. And so, you know, I think that we have great reason to not trust any of them. But do we not use these industries because of what happened 50 and 100 years ago? I want to know what you think. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Wes from Mount Airy is on line one. Go ahead, Wes.
Good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
I heard you talking about the $600. Pretty much, it just highlights the year on how the government actually feel about people. I mean, unfortunately, you had people being used as pawns for political chess games. I mean, yes, the CARES Act was passed, but there were things in the CARES Act that you had people worrying about if a person was getting unemployment, that they shouldn't get any type of other compensation. And now, after, I think we've been locked down. I've been locked down from some point from March. So from March to today, when the agreement was signed, it was $600. I think that's like $100 a month. That's pretty disgusting, and it pretty much shows where your values is at on both sides. I mean, because if you're confident to sit there and say that the problem-solving agreement that they had that didn't even have checks in it, and then sit there and say we can only give you $600. These individuals kept getting paid throughout this whole pandemic, and the majority of them are rich, and people aren't mad and aren't upset. That, for me, that's what bothers me the most, and that's what scares me the most. If we're in this type of situation where over 300 people died because of coronavirus, the mishandling by the government on state, local, federal, and the mistakes that they've made that has helped increase the people's deaths. And also you're seeing the exposure from the exploitation from generations of our community, how corona just unearthed everything and brought it to the forefront. And you still have people saying in the newspaper that $600 is enough for people who may get evicted for thousands of dollars of rent and back pay. That says a lot. what you sign is your values. I don't care I don't care if you take a knee. I don't care who you put into place. If you sign that and you're okay with that and you're saying this is what we had when we knew this was going to come since March and everybody was taking vacation, for me that shows a lot. But I'm more startled by the response of people, how a lot of people are okay with it. And it's just now, if people will accept this, what will happen the next time if something worse happens? Will people accept the worst? Because now the template is already set up. Businesses will be propped up. You won't.
I hear you, man. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. You know, another thing to consider, and one of our commenters on Facebook talked about it, is that there is a new strain of coronavirus that has impacted Britain. And this new strain is said to be something that spreads faster, and it has prompted England and London and southeastern England, rather, to tighten restrictions for all of England over the festive period. And so this is something else, you know, to consider. And this is what viruses do. Viruses mutate. That's why you have a new flu vaccine every year, because the virus mutates. It changes, right? It adapts. And that's what viruses do. That's what the flu does. That's what other viruses like this do. And so this is something that you know, we need to be concerned about as well. And so I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Let us know where you are on these various things we're talking about on this morning show. Tony from North Philly is online too. Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, good morning, Solomon and
Good morning.
Queen Kawesa. And first of all, good health to you and Queen Kawesa and her family in these spiritual times. And Solomon, speak on the general that was in charge of the vaccine and is stored up in the warehouse. Hello?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Didn't you hear the general? Then he said, I take full responsibility because the vaccine was in the warehouse and all the governors and the mayors in these states was waiting on it. Google it, find out. Yeah, and he got it stored up in the warehouse and it wasn't moving. See, that's the kind of stuff that make you think, what's going on here? Hundreds of people dying and they playing games. See, this.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just incompetence. See, I think that you got a lot of incompetent people. Think about it, man. Michael Flynn was a general in the United States military. This boy was a general. He just as crazy as he can be.
Yeah,
I think sometimes stuff is incompetence, man. Now, it might be them playing games.
Yeah.
But it might just be somebody didn't do their job.
But did you hear his response when they asked him, questioned him about it? He said, like, I take full responsibility. And almost he said, like, yeah, now deal with it.
Now, what else is he supposed to say?
Well, that's
if he's responsible for that happening, what is he supposed to say?
I don't know how long this been going.
Is he supposed to say it's not somebody else's fault? He's supposed to say, no, I take full responsibility because I was in charge.
Well, who hired him?
Well, I think generals rise through the ranks. They don't necessarily get hired. But I think that they put him in charge of this project, and he messed up.
Who put him in charge? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, I mean, what are you saying?
I'm saying that it just goes to say just like everything else every time. Now, here's the vaccine is here. Okay, everybody's hopeful. Now, here they come with this. Oh, it's stored up in a warehouse. I don't know what happened, how it happened, but I take full responsibility.
Okay, well, if he's responsible, I'm trying to understand, what else is he supposed to say other than I take full responsibility?
He wasn't supposed to say nothing. He was supposed to be a general and handle his business.
Yeah, but he did. He messed up. So, you know, if I mess up, guess what I'm going to say? I take full responsibility. It's my fault. It ain't nobody else's fault but mine.
But how you going to mess up in times like this?
Brother, people mess up all the time. You know why? Because we're human. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show right here on WURD.
Family caregiving can be rewarding and challenging. Family and friends are the backbones of America's care system for older Americans and loved ones to live at home. African American family caregivers care for a loved one for an average of 5 years and help with medical and nursing tasks for over 30 hours a week. But now, caregiving may be harder than ever. AARP has information and online communities of other caregivers. Learn more at aarp.org/caregiving.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Have you thought about your Christmas Day or New Year's Day dinner? Contact Eatable Delights Catering for one of their scrumptious packages. Call for the fire roasted chestnut, the Natalie Cole, or the Arizona Special. They can cater for you for as little as 4 people. 215-236-3900 or stop in at 1540 Wadsworth Avenue. Order by December 21st for pickup and order for delivery by December 24th and December 25th. That's 215-236-3900.
The onWURD Podcast. Check out the onWURD 2020 in Black podcast series. Available now on your favorite podcast app or visit wordradio.com/2020 in black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in black. Now, a traffic update on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Looking at the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound side, a busy ride now city through the Roosevelt Boulevard again, South Street through University, or jam westbound heavy University through the Vine through that construction. Westbound Vine Expressway delays 8th Street out through it's the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound from 8th Street into I-95. A bit of a busy ride. Looking at 95 southbound delays Cotman through Bridge again, Betsy Ross through Girard northbound 95. That's a jam ride. Vine Expressway through Girard, accident there now being worked on. 55 northbound Deptford into 42 busy. Waiting for the perfect reason to join Audible? Here it is, the Audible holiday offer. Get the new all-you-can-listen plan, Audible Plus, for just $4.95 a month with your first 6 months. Listen without limit to select Audible originals, audiobooks, and now podcasts. Go to audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio.
96.1 FM.
And 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD. And I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Olanian from Nicetown is on line one. Go ahead, Olanian.
Greetings. For some strange reason, my phone is acting a little crazy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good. Speaking about the so-called China virus, is President Trump going to call this new strain the England virus?
How about that? How about that?
Have a nice day.
All right, man. That's a good question. Because you know what? A lot of this stuff, man, wrapped up in racism, and he's a cult leader. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. He is. I mean, you know, the people who are most dedicated to him And this is what the Republican Party has to realize, is that they're dedicated to him, not them. You know, you had a guy at this last MAGA rally they had in D.C. on stage saying we got to tear everything down, including the GOP. They are not loyal to the Republican Party. So the Republican strategy of trying to hold on to these voters, no, they are loyal to him. They like him because he's crazy. They like him because he says whatever. They like him because he likes chaos. They like him because he's racist. That's why they like him. They don't like y'all. They don't, you know, y'all not openly racist enough. Y'all need to be more openly racist. Y'all need to be more, you know, crazy in the things that you say. You need to be more disorganized in the things that you do. You need to be running the establishment, but anti-establishment at the same time. Like, that's why they love him. They not, once he leaves, you know, y'all gonna lose millions of votes because they are following him, not the party. And I need Republicans to understand that, right? And so, you know, this whole him calling this the China virus, like that's part of his racism. Him banning travel from Muslim countries, like that's part of his racism. Because again, these Muslim countries are countries where the people are people of color, right? And so, you know, him calling African countries crap holes, and him saying that all Haitians have AIDS, and him tossing paper towels to the Puerto Ricans after they had a hurricane that devastated that island. It's all part of it's all, you know, it's racism. That's what undergirds it. And so Olanian's question is an excellent one because, okay, if you calling it the China virus because China, you know, is the place where it originated, are you going to call this the England virus? No, you ain't going to do that because you're a racist. You know? So, I mean, you know, I just kind of call it like I see it. I want to hear from you, man. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. Kois, I think Olanian asked an excellent question.
He did ask an excellent question, and we know good and well that he's not going to turn around and call this the England virus or, you know, the UK virus or whatever. He's not going to do that. He really won't. I mean, there were studies that came out that talked about the fact that in New York, most of the people who were infected over there, it came from England, but he still was calling it the China virus, and he was still, you know, calling it like, come on. We know that all of this is tied up and wrapped up in racism and in hate. And you had all those people who are, you know, being impacted because of his words. Chinese people, Asian people, they couldn't walk outside without being harassed. You had a lot of folks who were dealing with that. And so he's not going to do that because the people over there in the UK look like him. Yeah. So he's not going to say that it's the England virus or the UK. He's not going to say that. He won't.
Not at all. Not at all. So I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Mary from West Philly is on line 1. Go ahead, Mary.
Hey, Solomon. I am calling about, I guess, your take on the vaccine and the different institutions that have affected us over the years, right? And so I think you make some very good points about how we had been oppressed in other ways. But I think for me, when it comes to the vaccine, the only thing that I really have complete control over is my body, what happens to my body, what goes into my body. And so when it comes down to the vaccine, I'm going to say no.
And I think that is your prerogative to do that.
Absolutely.
I think that's your prerogative to do that. And hopefully you don't get COVID. And hopefully you don't have a very bad reaction to COVID and right, you know, have something happen to you as a result of that. But I think that is your prerogative to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, I've gone through COVID and I had a very mild case, thank God, for that. But, you know, I know people who have died from this thing, who were younger than me, who were full of life, and who were black, just like me, and who have died. And so, you know, I think that for me, when I measure all of my experience over the years with medicine and, you know, with vaccines and that kind of thing, then I have to measure all of that in order to come to my decision. But certainly I respect your decision. You do what you have to do.
All have those things that we need to measure, our pros and cons, and that's something that I'm willing to say I'm going to hold off on that. So.
All right. All right. So let me ask you this. Suppose you see everybody else take it and they all right. Then what?
Nothing.
Okay, Mary. Thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. You know, I'm glad Kawhi said that I kind of have the benefit of time and the benefit of waiting and kind of seeing what happens with this thing. You know, the one thing I don't trust Trump. I don't trust anything that he says. I don't trust anything that he does. And so that's, if anything gives me pause concerning this, is him, because he's a liar. He like, you know, something I've never seen before. I've never seen somebody who is constantly lying, right? And that's the thing I mistrust most about this. But I am glad that I have the benefit of time. What are you thinking?
I mean, for me, I'm glad that I have the benefit of time as well to really kind of feel things out and see what's kind of happening. You know, I've heard mixed reviews on my end as well in regards to just, you know, people having reactions, people being perfectly fine when they take it. And so I think that, you know, at the end of the day, for me, it's going to have to be a decision, you know, that I'm okay with. You know, you can't, like, you know, force folks to take it. But, well, some people can. Maybe, you know, depending on what kind of job you have, you might be forced to take it. You know, but at the same time, I think that, you know, we do have that use of time, and I'm going to continue to see what happens. I know that everybody is different, so what might affect one person a certain way might not affect me, or vice versa. And so I think that it's really just going to have to be a decision that everybody kind of weighs in, you know, on a personal level, to kind of figure out what it is that they want to do. Having had COVID, I don't want it again. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that again. It was very mild. You know, my case was very mild too. It really only, you know, kind of, you know, I took a step back for a couple of days, but I was fine. I was able to keep working and all that kind of stuff. But it's really just going to have to be a decision that I weigh very heavily on and what I want to do. You know, that's what I have.
Okay. All right. So I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning show. 215-634-8065. You can also weigh in on Facebook at ForWord. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kuwaisa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
So we do have a few more comments, and I apologize if people are hearing bells in the background. My shirt, I have an ugly sweater, ugly holiday sweater on.
And it's got audio? I hear it.
I keep trying to, like, move really slowly, but all you can do is hear it. I can't help it. So I'm sorry about that. But right. A couple of comments. I like it. A couple of comments that we have here. Valerie Susan Wells McLeod, good morning, and thanks so much for weighing in. She's saying, good morning, Word family. Happy Winter Solstice Day. First day of winter. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, awesome. Happy first day of winter. Henny Miller says, saying good morning as well. So good morning right back to you. Geraldine Mayfield, thanks so much for tuning in. And also Rebecca Truxton. Phyllis Williams is saying, there's a big difference when something is put into your body that could affect your health. That's one comment. And Linda Pierce is agreeing with you, Solomon. He is a whole nut. January 20th. That's all that she's waiting for there. And then we have Joanne Kemp saying, a lot of things have happened to us in the past. Never forget, but that shouldn't stop us from moving forward. We have many African-American medical experts now. I'll be taking the vaccine. I haven't been to the store in almost a year. Wow. I'll be glad to have some percentage of protection. So that's another comment. And then lastly, we have Donna Torrance saying, all of that is true, what you're saying, but the difference is people are able to get up and fight another day versus taking a vaccine that people are unsure of that could possibly do long-term harm to their health. So we actually have quite a few mixed reactions here on our Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, you know, and I've thought about this, and sometimes you say what is popular, and sometimes you weigh your own experience, your own knowledge, your own, pros and cons, and you say what you think is right. And what I am always going to do, right, on this microphone is say what I believe is right. Based on my experience, based on my research, based on, trusted voices, based on, all of that, education, like based on all of that, I'm always going to say what I believe to be right. And I had to think about the fact that I take a flu vaccine every year, and nothing has happened to me, or my children, or my wife, or anybody in my circle, who has done that. The flu is a virus, much like coronavirus. Coronavirus is new. That's why they call it novel, right? The novel coronavirus. It's a new virus that has many of the same symptoms, but affects people in different ways, right? And viruses mutate, they change, but we've been taking vaccines for viruses for years. And so, that's one of the things that really weighs heavily in my decision. But certainly everybody has the right to make their own decision. And everybody has the right, especially in the Black community, to mistrust, various institutions in America. Every institution in our country has been involved in racism and harming Black people. Every one of them, all of them, right? And so, we have to constantly make decisions as to whether or not we are going to participate in those institutions. Constantly, man. And we have to make those decisions, if we have any education at all, right? Based in the fact that these are people, these are institutions that have harmed us, all of them. And so we're constantly in that state of making those decisions. And so, I respect everybody's decision, but I have to make mine based on facts. Not on rumors, not on, conjecture, not on any of that. I have to make my decisions based on facts. And the decisions that I make, I know impact other people. They impact my children. They impact my wife. They impact my community. They impact my listeners, right? But I'm telling you that based on the facts that I have gathered to this point, that when my turn comes around, and thank God it's going to be a minute, I'm going to have to wait, that I'm probably going to take the vaccine based on the facts that I've been able to gather on this, right? And so I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. You give me a call. Let me know. 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. We are going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Step by Step Home Care Professionals is one of Philadelphia's fastest growing Black-owned home care employers, and they are hiring. If you are a caring, nurturing, and compassionate person who enjoys helping people in need, Step by Step Home Care Professionals is looking to hire you. Go to sbshome.care to complete an employment application. That's sbshome.care, or call 610-321-3108 for more information, and ask for Monet. Step by Step Home Care Professionals is hiring today.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app. Or watch live on Word TV via Facebook and YouTube. Word Radio. Independent Black Media. Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Audible. Looking at the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound side, a busy ride now city through the Roosevelt Boulevard, again South Street through University, or jam westbound heavy University through the Vine through that construction. Westbound Vine Expressway delays 8th Street out through it's the Schuylkill Expressway eastbound from 8th Street in Y95. A bit of a busy ride. Looking at 95 southbound delays Cotman through Bridge, again Betsy Ross through Girard, northbound 95. That's a jam ride. Vine Expressway through Girard, accident there now being worked on. 55 northbound Deptford into 42. Busy. Waiting for the perfect reason to join Audible? Here it is, the Audible holiday offer. Get the new all-you-can-listen plan, Audible Plus, for just $4.95 a month with your first 6 months. Listen without limit to select Audible originals, audiobooks, and now podcasts. Go to audible.com. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're waking up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on Word Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. And I want to welcome our first guest, Tremaine Joseph Hicks, and his attorney, Susan Lynn, join us to talk about Hicks's story of being released from prison after 2 decades for a crime he didn't commit. Tremaine, Susan, welcome to the show.
How you doing,
Good
brother?
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Tremaine, the police shot you and then accused you of a crime. What happened?
Man, it all happened so fast. You know, I have to about to say something, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it all happened so fast, man. I'm just fortunate enough now that I'm able to look back and just tell you what happened. I heard some woman screaming. The screams wasn't, you know, anything that, like, it was, everything was all right. It sounded like she was in dire need of some help, man. And I was on my way back to the house. And, you know, I guess chance I was in that vicinity. I just happened to walk down that way, man. And before I got there, the guys ran off. There was 2 of them. The guys ran off. And as I walked closer to the area, I seen a sneak on the ground. I didn't know what to think. Went to go reach for my phone. I seen a woman there. I nudged her. She didn't move. Before I pulled my hand out my pocket, I heard, "Freeze, get your hands up." I looked back, seen the cops. I looked back at the woman, looked back at the cops, and told them, man, I was trying to help her. Get your hands up. Then before my hand came out my pocket, I went down on the ground. I heard shots. Just that simple.
Wow. Wow. So what area of the city was this?
South Philly. It was at 15th and Snyder.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I was living at Broad and Snyder at the time.
Uh-huh. And so they shoot you, and then what happens? How did they try to connect you to this crime?
They concocted a hell of a story, man. It was a good thing that they already had the bolo or the
person that they was looking for, the type of clothing he was wearing, and that there was a surveillance tape that captured part of it. So, that was good, fortunately for me. But they try to make it seem like I was the one who was actually assaulting this woman. Yeah.
And so you just happen to be walking by. You see this woman. You try to help her. They shoot you. And how does the case progress from there? So they already had a description of the people who did it, but they had you, and they were going to pin it on you. Why do you think that was the case? Why do you think they did that?
Well, I believe it was because they shot me in the back. They shot an unarmed, innocent man unjustifiably in the back. And I didn't die. I lived. I mean, had I died, a story would have held solid, I didn't die, man, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm so thrilled and happy about that. And it made the 19 years that I did, small potatoes to what I went through and what I survived. The fact that I survived, I'm more happy about that, So, and I was able to tell the truth. I kept hammering on, so like a hammer on top of a nail. I kept on saying, this is what it is, this is what it is, this is what it is. It's not what the police are saying. This is how it happened.
And so, in terms of any evidence, because they accused you of raping this woman, was there DNA evidence connecting the real person who did it to this crime?
I know there was DNA evidence. I think Susan could talk more about that, but I don't believe that they actually tested the rape kit. I'm not certain, but I think that was one of the issues. But it was blood on my pants, from when I guess I was shot and fell to the ground. But other than that, I'm not 100% certain. All I do know is that I didn't die.
Yeah. How did you survive, man, at that 19 years in prison? Like, what did you do, man, in order to endure that, given that you were in a situation that was not of your making? You were an innocent man. How did you survive that?
Well, first and foremost, man, so my faith, my belief and faith in God, man. I knew God had me all along. The fact that I made it that night. So I did it one day at a time. I lived each day in that day. I didn't dwell on the past, and I wasn't looking forward to tomorrow because it was enough pain and agony in the day that I was in. So I worked out a lot. I worked out like a madman. I read like a crazy person, and I did a lot of creative writing, man. I was just finding my way and doing everything that I possibly could to stay positive. And my family's been there since day one, man. They had my back, my family, my friends. So that'll help alleviate some of the pain. But for the most part, I just stay present in the day, man. Stay present in that each individual day.
And so, Susan, how did this case play out? How did you prove Tremaine's innocence in this case?
So I got involved in this case back in 2015 when the Innocence Project of New York approached our firm and asked us to be local counsel. And it actually started out as a petition to get additional post-conviction DNA testing. There was DNA material. The technology at the time of Mr. Hicks's trial was not as good as the technology is now. And so we were seeking to get the court to give us that material so we could get it tested with more up-to-date methods that they have now. And so there was a lot of back and forth and a long time coming to get our hands on that DNA material. Unfortunately, there just wasn't enough material to get a good profile. There was no male DNA in the rape kit, and everything else was either inconclusive. So luckily for us, in the course of seeking the DNA material, we were also able to get the prosecution's agreement that our experts could look at the other physical evidence that was collected, including Mr. Hicks's clothing. And when Mr. Hicks's clothing, along with his medical records, were examined by a forensic pathologist who had never looked at it during the time of trial, it became obvious that the testimony of the police officers during the trial simply did not match the physical evidence of the medical records of the clothing. Their story of how they shot Tremaine didn't match. It matched his testimony, not their testimony. And that was the key. Combined with, by the way, other people's statements and like lost video surveillance evidence indicating that the real perpetrator was wearing a gray hoodie, and Mr. Hicks, there was no gray hoodie on his body when he was taken to the hospital. There was no gray hoodie recovered from him on the scene. It was obvious that it was not Mr. Hicks who was the one who did this.
What happened to the police officers who testified, I guess, falsely around what happened?
At this point, I'm not sure. I may have read something in the Enquirer about them being placed on administrative leave, but really, I'm not certain. I have to say our focus was on getting Mr. Hicks out.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are many people who face wrongful conviction, and they are disproportionately black. And so, Mr. Hicks, what do you think should happen with those who falsely put you in prison?
Well, honestly, I would like to see him do 19 years at least. You know, to see how they fared, man, because that was one long hell of a ride, man. That was one long war that I was in, man. Multiple battles, man, and just see how they fared, man. Because what they did to me was wrong, man, and I'm just glad that I have today. You know, it's one thing to be completely innocent, but I was convicted of rape, man, and that is a hell of a charge to be convicted of, man, and to be in the penitentiary to with some serious guys. Now, fortunately for me, I'm not a bad guy, never have been, man, and God took liking to me, man, and so I didn't have problems as far as concerning my conviction, but still though, but now the Department of Corrections administration and trying to get things done, I couldn't do because of the conviction that I had.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I could have came home, 5-6 years ago, had I admit that I was a part of this crime and was remorseful and sorry that I did. But the fact that I held true to myself and told them that I'm gonna tell you what happened, and what happened is lined up with what the police did. They had me in jail an additional 6 years, and I couldn't see my son graduate from high school. So it was rough.
Yeah. We're talking with Tremaine Joseph Hicks and his attorney, Susan Lynn. Mr. Hicks was wrongfully convicted for a rape he did not commit and spent 19 years in prison. And so now in terms of the full exoneration, in terms of taking this thing off your record, making it as if it has never happened, Susan Lynn, where are we with that?
Well, the case is done and over with. Not only was his conviction vacated, but the prosecutor's office has agreed that they did not have the ability to retry him. They have dismissed the charges against him. As far as getting it off the record, it would be a matter of petition for expungement. And then any follow-up steps after that, I think Mr. Hicks still has to make some decisions, and he'll do so.
What follow-up stuff are you referring to?
So Mr. Hicks needs to figure out, basically, he needs to get it. I mean, Mr. Hicks is enjoying his time with his family. At some point in the future, he may want to consider the possibility of a civil lawsuit, but frankly, it's a little too early for that. I think that Mr. Hicks should enjoy some time with his family, and he'll decide that when he wants to.
Yeah. Now, I've been doing some research around wrongful convictions, and I know that Pennsylvania is one of several states that does not have a compensation law around people who've been wrongfully convicted and who've been imprisoned. Tremaine, what do you think would be fair in terms of compensating you, man, for the time that you lost due to this wrongful conviction?
Well, so I don't think you can put any type of value on time lost.
Yeah.
I mean, my son was 4. He's 24 now, and he's married with a son of his own. And I just met my grandson for the first time a couple nights ago, man. And so you really can't put no price on that. And And I fought like hell to get back to my family, especially my son, man. I did not want my son growing up without his father, man. And, you know, and I wrote my son a letter every single week for the first 15 years, man. Sending cards, you know, and just to let him know that I'm around, that I love him, that I have not left him, man. And, you know, and I'm there for him. And, you know, so you really can't put a price on that. You can't.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man, but they definitely need to change that law. And my son has all them letters too, man. He still has them all. He has all the letters and all the cards, man. That's cool, man. Surprised me with that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, you can't put no price on that, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. That is Tremaine Joseph Hicks. He was wrongfully convicted and spent 19 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. So you talked about the things that you did in prison. You said that you worked out a lot, that you read a lot, that you stuck to your story about your innocence and about what really happened in that incident. What are you planning to do going forward? What are your plans for the rest of your life?
Well, and also, man, I wrote a lot of plays too that was so that I produced on the inside, man. A lot of good plays.
Okay.
But for the foreseeable future, man, I'm enjoying my family right now, man. You know, I have 5 other siblings. I have a whole bunch of great nieces and great nephews, man. It's just been wonderful, and the outpouring of support and love that I've been getting from around the country, man, and even the world, man. I done read some statements from people around the world, man, and it's very touching and moving, and I'm just trying to take it all in, man. Living in the day, the present moment, and I'm certain sometime on the course of the day I'm going to receive word or some note or a statement from someone that I don't know and just encouraging me on. So in the foreseeable future, I'm just chilling with my family, man. But I do plan on producing and directing, man, and continue to write because I got a lot to say, man. I have a lot to talk about, you know?
Okay. All right. Well, we certainly wish you the very best with that. Susan Lynn, I do want to ask you this before we let you go. Is Mr. Hicks's case unique?
Oh, so sad. I think there are a lot more people who are most likely serving sentences in this state who should not be there. I am absolutely convinced of that. The fight, though, that it takes, the resources to dig into their cases and to bring it to light, we need more people doing this work. Because there are certainly people who need the help who don't deserve to be on the inside where they are right now.
All right.
Hey, I'm Solomon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But you know, also, man, there's a lot of brothers and sisters, black and brown men and women, unfortunately didn't survive an encounter with the police, man, because of an impulsive, ill-prepared, or apprehensive cops towards us, man. So I'm not a one-off. I'm just fortunate that I was able to survive, you know?
Yeah, and we're fortunate to still have you, brother. So thank you so much to both of you for joining us this morning. Tremaine Joseph Hicks, wrongfully convicted, now freed after nearly 2 decades in prison. His attorney, Susan Lynn, joined us as well. Thank you both for joining us this morning on WURD.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me, man. Take care.
You're welcome. All right, take care. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show with your calls. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
Want to buy black for the holidays?
Word Radio has got you covered. WURD is proud to present our virtual holiday marketplace online. Support local, small, Black-owned businesses through the marketplace and purchase your holiday gifts today. Visit wordradio.com/marketplace or wordworks.com/marketplace.
The onWURD Podcast. We'll be trying to make sense of 2020 for a very long time. And to start, WURD Radio has launched a special 4-part podcast series, onWURD 2020 in Black. Join WURD President and CEO Sarah Lomax-Reese and your favorite WURD hosts as they reflect on the big issues from 2020. From the pandemic to the global protests for racial justice to the 2020 election and how you heard it all here on WURD, one of the only independent Black-owned talk radio stations in the country. Check out the latest podcast, onWURD 2020 in Black, available on your favorite podcast app, or visit wordradio.com/2020 in Black. You can also ask your favorite device to play onWURD 2020 in Black.
Now, a traffic update
on WURD Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by the Exergen Temporal Scanner. 95 southbound. Going to find that a bit busy this morning through construction from Cotman down through Bridge. Again, Betsy Ross through Girard. A slow ride northbound 95. You're going to find that jammed up. Penn's Landing through Girard. Accident there being worked on right near the off-ramp there at Girard Avenue. Looking at the Vine Expressway westbound. That's busy from Broad through the Schuylkill eastbound. Heavy from the Parkway through I-95. Schuylkill Expressway westbound. Jam University through the Vine. Again, delays out near 202. Jammed up there. That's because of an accident. This accident is out on 422. You're going to find that a busy ride this morning. It's on 422 westbound between the Schuylkill Expressway and 23. Pretty serious accident there being worked on. So watch for a lot of crews and equipment there. Fever is the leading sign of COVID-19. Use an accurate thermometer for twice daily checks. Protect your loved ones with the Exergen Temporal Scanner. It takes an accurate reading in seconds and is the only home thermometer recommended by hospitals, physicians, and clinics. Stay safe with Exergen. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We are taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD. Wow, what a powerful story from Tremaine Joseph Hicks about his incarceration, man, and we have seen that over and over and over and over again in the United States, especially where black and brown people are concerned. We are disproportionately the ones who are wrongfully convicted, and once it is found that there might be a problem with the case, it generally takes us 2 or 3 years longer than white people to get out of prison, right? To be exonerated for a crime we did not commit. And so Tremaine Joseph Hicks, certainly not the only person who is experiencing this. And the people who experience this are disproportionately black, and their exoneration takes longer than it does for white folks. And so I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Bruce from Germantown is on line one. Go ahead, Bruce.
Good morning, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, brother.
Yeah, you know, that story, the young man just, and he's probably not young, but it seemed like his spirit is frozen in time. But, you know, it's a shame, and I want to know if there's anybody that knows, like, why isn't it something done about when somebody gets wrongfully sentenced to that amount of time, and when they come out, they just get rid of you in the streets, and then it's up to you to fend for yourself for the rest of your life. Like, it's no compensation. And why is that in Pennsylvania? And does that have something to do with just because it's more blacks being in that situation, and so nobody's trying to dig up some legislation to pass a law to compensate them? And I know just what he said. He said, there's no price on that. But come on, you got to get something from that. You know what I mean? That's not. I feel for the man. I really do. That was a powerful, touching story. And somebody should do something. I mean, I'm in my 60s now. If I could go back and be a lawyer and try to dig and try to change stuff, I would. But I want to know, is there anybody trying to change that situation in Pennsylvania? That's what I want to know. And y'all have a nice day. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. So there was a study by the National Registry of Exonerations, and what they found was that black people convicted of murder or sexual assault are significantly more likely than their white counterparts to be later found innocent of the crimes. And once there is a problem with it, it takes them 2 or 3 years longer to get out than white people who are wrongfully convicted, right? So that's part of it. The other part is that in many states, there is no compensation for a wrongful conviction, right? And Pennsylvania is one of those states where if you are wrongfully convicted, yeah, you can get out of prison, but you ain't getting no money, right? The Innocence Project looked at that, and what they found is that you have compensation in 35 states. Now, there's some form of compensation, right? Which means that sometimes they'll have rules in place. Yeah, you can get compensated, but you got all of these rules in place and all of these hoops that you have to jump through that generally mean that people will not get compensated. Like, yeah, it's compensation on the books, technically, but in a practical sense, it's so many rules and regulations around it that really a lot of people end up never getting that compensation. So there are some states where they've put, real compensation laws on the books, but they are not. It's not every state. 15 states provide no compensation or services for innocent men and women who've been exonerated for a crime they didn't commit. Pennsylvania is one of those 15 states where there is nothing. You get out and you get whatever you came in there with, and good luck. That's wrong, and that has to be fixed. Now, in terms of who's working on it, the Innocence Project is working on that issue to answer your question. So I want to thank you for asking that question this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Veronica from Philly is online too. Go ahead, Veronica.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have 2 questions. First of all, I want to say that was so heartfelt because I'm a mother. I can't even imagine, but I thank God for his family and his friends his son who supported him through all of these years. My one question is, and I'm going to check legally, but you might know, how come it has to be expunged if everything else was dismissed? So that part of that I don't understand, because without the expungement, he still has a record. Number 2 question for you today, Solomon, is if they hadn't given us that $600 and the government had shut down, that would have meant they didn't get paid. So they had to do something so that the people could get paid. Am I correct? Like the higher-ups. That's my question. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Kuwait, I love this program.
Thank
you. Please answer my question. God bless you.
Okay, so expungement just means that it's removed from your record. When people look up your record, they can see every time you've been arrested, whether or not you were convicted, unless you get those things expunged. So if you have, a wrongful conviction like his, you have to get you have to go to the court in order to have the court remove that stuff from your record. And that's just another step that you have to take, because when people look up your record, they're going to see that. So that's in answer to that question. In terms of the government shutting down, yeah, I guess that they would have to pass some legislation so they could get paid too. I guess I gotta look that up and find out if that's the case. But yeah, they all get paid out of the same pot. I worked for the federal government, and that was a check you could depend on, man. You depend on that check. That check was coming like clockwork. You know what I mean? So I will look that up, but I suspect that yes, they would have to pass it so that they could get paid too. But you have to realize most of the people in the Senate are millionaires, right? So you got to realize that too. But I want to thank you for that question. The answer, I think, is yes. I'll try to check on it before the end of the show. Jerry from West Philly is on line one. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I heard the young man's story because I'm sort of late getting on, but what bothers me is because his is not the first one that I've heard. It has to do with a lot of times athletes, they're about to make that major move and they'll get set up. I know somebody personally, he lived down South Philly, and he got set up for a crime that he didn't commit, and he got out. He was very angry and trying to recoup all that money and stuff that he would have made. And but God, he was able to turn his life around and get it together. But it's sad, and the expungement also, that has been going on for a long time. And because some of them, they don't get it off their records, they don't know how to go about it, but they can't keep a job. That's the biggest holdup for a lot of our African American men. And also, I love the fact that he said his faith and his family got him through all of this. And that's the main thing, is that we gotta trust God, even for this vaccination. You know what I'm saying? We have to trust God and use our own judgment about these things. But thank you for taking my call, and have a blessed day.
All right. I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. Of course, you can also comment on Facebook at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kawesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
So we have quite a few comments in regards to our last interview. Phyllis Williams says, yes, it's so sad. It happens to many, 19 years or 1 year. If you're found innocent, you should get something. Most of your life is taken away, and imagine what it has done or is doing to their families. So that's one comment. Casa, who says racism always breaks the law to enforce the law when it comes to dark-skinned people in America. Rebecca Truxton says, I thank God continually how he watches over all of us. Lucy Lusan says, yes, that was a really powerful story, and it does happen way too often. All of Philadelphia cases needs to be looked back into. And Rebecca Truxton is also saying that she's praying for the young man. It shows that God is good. And Veronica Smith, wow, that story was so heartfelt. You could actually hear his innocence. To have his son and family support him through all those years was outstanding. It's good to know they had his back because they knew his character. Wow. And then also Lois Rubin Marks says, good morning. Thanks so much for that interview. I wish he had a GoFundMe page. So sad. And then we also had a couple other comments as well. I'm just trying to pull them up here so that I can read them. I'm just trying to pull it up. Nope, he's making a comment on something else. Gail Robinson is saying good morning to us. She says, good morning, Word Family, Solomon and Kawesa. Have a fantastic day. We did also have a couple folks weighing in on the vaccine as well. Carolyn Coleman Chavis, I'm sorry, I'm an elder and I have that small mark on my left arm, which is the reminder of smallpox. So glad that vaccine was available, and I am considering taking the COVID vaccine. And Joseph Simmons, in regards to Mr. Hicks's interview, bravo, Solomon, blessings and justice for Mr. Hicks. Abolish the police as we know it. Let us serve and protect ourselves. So that's another comment. And lastly, Phyllis Williams says, Mr. Hicks, enjoy being with your family again. God shall work everything out for your good. So those are just a few comments that we have on our Facebook page.
Yeah, very, very powerful story, and not a unique story. And it is a story that happens to black people more often than not. And so when you're talking about people who are wrongfully imprisoned, many of those people are black, and many of them never get out, right? And so, you're talking about the police actually shooting him in the back and then pinning a crime on him that he did not commit. Somebody need to be in jail. And it's so interesting that when I asked him what is it that should happen to those who did this, he said they should do 19 years, like I had to do. You know what I mean? And I'm not mad at him for saying that. I just think that when people are held accountable for this stuff, because here's the other thing that happens, that when people are wrongfully convicted, many times the people who have engaged in misconduct, whether it be prosecutorial misconduct or police misconduct, nothing happens to them. So if you can do that to somebody and nothing happens to you, then what is your motivation for not doing it? There has to be some consequence for that, because that's the real crime. You've put somebody in jail for committing a crime they didn't commit. Well, what you've done to them is a crime. And so there needs to be some accountability for that, and too often there's not. We talked about the other day, Kwesa, the brother who got run over by a police officer, in Kansas. And he's still on, the cop who ran him over still on patrol. There's something wrong with that. And that is why these things, in my view, keep on happening, because there is no accountability for the people who do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is, such a, it's a sad story, but it's even sadder and more, it angers you more when you know that his story is not an isolated one. It's not a unique one. And especially when we're talking about black folks, like, this is why we keep saying, Black Lives Matter. That's why we keep saying it, and to have folks who are out here who really just kind of keep poo-pooing on our lives and trying to make it seem like we don't exist, or that we are somehow less than, or we're not human, or that we're animals, or whatever they have, whatever adjective they have, other than the fact that we are people. It hurts me to my core. And listening to Mr. Hicks's story, I mean, it's we've had Hassan Bennett on. Like, we've had so many people on who have had very similar stories about just being wrongfully imprisoned for something they didn't do. And I'm happy that he held his ground and he said, no, I didn't do this. I'm not going to sit here and fess up to something that I didn't do. But the fact that it caused him to stay in there even longer and miss out on even more of his family's life. I mean, I'm always so surprised at how people like a Hassan Bennett, how people like a Mr. Hicks, how they are able to still have so much positivity and life about them, and not really seem, so angry about, because I'm angry for them.
Yeah,
I am. And so, I'll just continue to keep them lifted up in prayer, and I hope and pray that, they get the right type of justice that they deserve in their cases.
Absolutely. Agreed. So, 215-634-8065, of course, is the number you can call to get in. You can also weigh in on Facebook at 4WURD. And we are going to continue the conversation on the other side of this break. I'm Solomon Jones, Maurice from North Philly, Thelma from New Jersey. You are next. If you want to get in, it's 215-634-8065. I'm Solomon Jones. We'll be right back.
PECO has many ways to help you lower your energy usage and save money at home. Here's one. If your heating and cooling system is more than 20 years old, it may be time for your contractor to replace it with a high-efficiency Energy Star certified model. You'll get a rebate from PECO and save on your monthly electric bill. You'll find a list of new heating and cooling system rebates at PECO.com/rebates. Or you can call 1-888-5-PICO-SAVE for all the details. Plus, find instant discounts on smart thermostats and more at pico.com/marketplace. There's free shipping on orders over $49. Looking for employment? JD's Auto Body and Painting is hiring. They have 2 positions if you have 5 years experience in auto body and framework. Also seeking painter with 5 years experience. And if you have experience as an A or B assembler, JD's Auto Body can be the place for you. Please call JD's Auto Body at 215-848-5949 or email JD's Auto Body and Painting at Comcast.net.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
Back by popular demand. It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM, and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with Word. We're taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Maurice from North Philly is on line 1. Go ahead, Maurice.
Good morning, Solomon. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
All right. I want to sing shout out to the brother that came home. I think some important things is missing, Solomon, that I wish his lawyer would have spoke on why he was able to get out. And one of the reasons he was able to get out, because he always hollered actual innocence. And had he been time barred, but because he hollered actual innocence, that afforded him the way to get out. A lot of brothers are stuck, especially in Pennsylvania, due to the 1984 and 94 crime bill, Joe Biden crime bill. In 1996, Biden and Clinton got rid of the federal habeas corpus that hurt a lot of Pennsylvania lifers. And a lot of people that have new evidence to exonerate themselves, they can't get out if they didn't holler before the 90s actual innocence. And I think that's important because this brother got out. But we need to educate on how, one, they do something called manufactured evidence. In my case, I did 15 and a half years on the side. I overturned my case. I'm not overturning my case. I got my sentence reducted. But what happened was they had a witness testify against me, and they manufactured this. When they manufactured the case, and the witness, if you believe him, he was 150 yards away by his own testimony. And it stuck. So
the football field and a half.
Right. And that's what we said on the record. You will see on our record, say transcript, this man's a football field and a half. But we need to understand, especially as black Americans, we need to understand the Scottsboro case is alive and well in America. If we look in Philadelphia, what's going on? We look in Chicago, 60 people, house get kicked in with the wrong address with a faulty warrant. Women get butt naked, but they still interrogating them while they had no clothes on. They putting guns on little kids in Chicago. So this is spread around the country. But especially here in Philly, a lot of people are stuck in the system based on actual innocence. Until you can prove that, then you continue to be stuck in a prison because there's no federal.
What do you mean by actual innocence? What do you mean by, what does that mean?
The brother from day one, he claimed actual innocence.
He said he didn't do it.
He didn't do it, right? So that's actual innocence.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So when he went to plain hearing, he hollered.
So what do people generally say when they didn't do it?
They didn't say they don't do it, but they never say in their appeal actual innocence. So they can say they didn't do it, but he claimed actual innocence all the way through, even in his appeal. So as long as you have it in your appeal, actual innocence, even if you time bar, you can get back in the court because you was always claiming actual innocence.
Okay, I hear you, man. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to Thelma from New Jersey online too. Go ahead, Thelma.
Yeah, hi, Solomon. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
And, yeah, happy holidays to everybody. And are those cookies cooking? How is your cookie?
No, we didn't. She didn't make any cookies today.
You and your wife.
No, we ain't making any cookies. We got some cookies though, but we didn't make any. Somebody actually sent us some cookies and some soup as a gift. So we're enjoying those.
Oh, that is so wonderful. Well, yes. Well, the reason I call is because with the pandemic, I've also heard with Mr. Hicks, I'm just so thankful that man is out because he just seems like a wonderful person, a family man, and he's going to do good in the world. And hopefully we can support Mamiya in his situation to get him out as well. But what I called for was because of the pandemic and the holiday coming is that the numbers are going to definitely go up as we've seen from the holiday of Thanksgiving. And I'm trying to get a hold of Phil Murphy to see whether he can do something between now and the New Year's to just maybe shut things down for at least a week so that we can recover. Because as a nurse myself, I just don't want to see people out in the street or having to go home to die, because this is what's going to happen. And also, I wanted to know, I'm trying to figure out myself, the people that have already gotten this coronavirus who perhaps is building antibodies against this disease, do they really have to have the vaccine right away? Because
I think that's something that's still being figured out, because again, this is a new version of an old virus, right? A coronavirus is, there are various types of coronavirus. This is a new version. That's why it's called a novel coronavirus. Novel means new. And so given that it is new, the medical industry is still learning about this virus and how long immunity lasts, if it lasts at all. We do know that some people have gotten COVID-19 and have been reinfected with it. And so for some people, at least, that immunity does not last forever. And so I would imagine that for anyone who gets it, even if you get antibodies in your bloodstream, that immunity does not last forever. I asked Dr. McDonald, Dr. Elena McDonald, that question. And here's what I asked her. One of our listeners asked about what the process is for people who have COVID. Should they be getting the vaccine? And here's what she said. Very good question. The CDC has not put out a definitive recommendation yet. However, the conventional thought is, yes, you should plan to get the vaccine if you have already had COVID. We don't know how long natural immunity from the disease lasts, so there is a possibility of getting the disease again. Also, the vaccine creates a better and more robust response from the immune system. So that's what Dr. Elena McDonald said in response to your question. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. You're quite welcome. Tabakuti from Atlanta is online for it. Go ahead, Tabakuti.
Oh, good morning, Solomon. And
good morning.
Place as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's really sad, and I hope that the state of Philadelphia will rectify that situation and make compensation. I know, gosh, can't call the word right now. It's just slipping my mind. Anyway, make it
make it mandatory.
No, when they want to make it retroactive. Retroactive back to a certain period, so that people can try to improve their lives. Because what is being done to black people is like, as I keep telling people, white people wage war on us, and they never stop, And this is why we're in these positions that we're in today. And as far as the vaccine goes, I'm not taking it. I mean,
okay.
There is an article, Simon. It's from NPR, and the title of the article is NIH lifts ban on research that could make deadly viruses even worse. And see what happened, they knew because of what they was doing with some of these viruses, they knew that by doing that something like this would happen.
Who's
and
they?
I'm reading this art.
Who's they?
The scientific people in the scientific community.
Who's these people in the scientific community?
The people in the scientific community that conduct research on these vaccines and viruses.
Okay, so if and let's just walk through this, right? So have you ever seen anybody with polio?
No, I've seen pictures of people with polio.
Right, but have you ever seen anybody in real life with polio?
No.
Do you know why you've never seen anybody with polio?
Well, they...
Because you know, but you don't want to say it. Why have you never seen anybody with polio?
Okay, they did do, the polio vaccine, and it did...
Right, that's why you ain't never seen nobody with polio, man. Because they had a vaccine. That's why. That's why you ain't never seen nobody with polio. Polio was a devastating disease, right? That was devastating people all around the world, children. You know what I mean? All of a sudden they can't walk because they got polio. You know, and so, you know, when you, I'm just saying, because I think that, you know, we can't be so caught up in conspiracy theories that we never acknowledge that the very things that, wait a minute, brother, let me finish. That we never acknowledge that the very things that we're talking about, that that those things have worked. Right now, you could say, you know, whatever conspiracy you want. You could say they. You can't identify who they is. But what I'm saying to you is that there have been vaccines that have eradicated some of the world's worst diseases, man. And so, you know, you can believe whatever conspiracy theory you want, but I do want to balance that with saying that the reason you've never seen polio is because of a vaccine. That's all. Go ahead.
But see, I didn't mention a conspiracy theory. I cited you.
Yes, you did. You said they. You said they, the people who and whoever they is. That's conspiracy.
I cleared up that day, though. I said the people who are doing the research in the scientific community. Those are the people I'm talking about. But see,
and they are trying to make us get viruses. They trying to kill us.
I don't know exactly what they're doing, but from what I have,
that's what you're implying. You're implying that they're trying to kill us. And if that's what you believe, that's fine. I'm just asking you to just say it if that's what you believe.
I would say some of them are. But
some of them are trying to kill us. Okay.
What I'm
Go ahead.
Simon, is this: we have, considering what has happened to us over the century.
Yes.
And this is why more of us do not trust like these high-profile black people. For instance, there was a doctoral thesis by this sister, and it's entitled "In Search of Purity: Popular Eugenics and Racial Uplift Amongst New Negroes from 1915 to 1935."
And what is a doctoral thesis? Is it a fact or is it research?
It can be both.
I think it can have some. It can certainly have facts included in it, but it is, you know, it's research. That's what it is. So that doesn't mean it's the gospel truth. It means that it's research.
But research with truth in it.
Mm-hmm. And so you believe that every doctoral thesis is the gospel truth? Or do you believe that it is a conclusion based on somebody's research?
I'm speaking on this particular doctoral thesis, what I'm reading.
Yeah, you suddenly start calling with a whole lot of conspiracy theories, man, over the last maybe week or so. But go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish this one. Go ahead.
So here's what I'm hearing right now. Okay, now, if anybody raised any issues regarding this virus, all of a sudden they are bringing forth a conspiracy theory.
No, I'm saying you. I'm not saying anybody. I'm saying you.
I'm just saying.
So I just want to make that clear. I'm saying you.
Okay, but
you know what I mean. So I just want to make that clear. But go ahead.
You said me, but what I'm saying is what I'm seeing. When I look at like the news, if anyone questioned the this virus and what's going on, all of a sudden they're bringing forth a conspiracy theory.
I'm not talking about the news. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm not talking about what they say anyplace else. I'm talking about you.
Yeah.
I'm talking about you. So I just want to make that real clear that I don't make broad-based statements about everybody and they and all of that. You and I are having a conversation, and what I'm saying is that you have raised several conspiracy theories. I don't think that's an unfair statement.
I'm bringing forth a conspiracy theory, but
yeah, you have. You've done it several times.
What I cite.
But go ahead.
What I cite are things that have happened, and I would say this: conspiracies are real. They can happen. But what I'm saying, it seems like what I'm seeing is if myself or anyone else brings up something regarding this particular virus, all of a sudden it is a conspiracy theory.
Well, have you had COVID?
No, I have not.
Okay, because I have. So, that's number one.
I know people.
Wait a minute, that's number one, right? But I can't, man. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WRD, because what I don't want to happen on this show, and y'all could do do whatever you want any place else, but I want to make sure that our folks have the facts, and you can have the facts on both sides of the argument. I think that that's fair. But when you start to say stuff like they, well, who is they? And what is it that they are trying to do? And what is your comment based on? Especially if it's something that's serious. Now, if it's something that don't matter, I'll let it slide. But if it's something that's serious, where our people are dying, there's 300-something thousand people dead, man. Disproportionately, those people are black. So would I be doing my job? Would I be serving my community if I allowed you to give misinformation to my community about something that's a life or death issue? I don't think I would. You know what I mean? And you can get mad, you can, whatever. I don't care. Because the bottom line is I am here to serve my community, to serve my people, and to make sure that whatever information they get on a life or death issue is factual to the best of my knowledge. And if I'm wrong, guess what? I will let you know what I just told you was wrong. Here's the fact. Because I want to make sure that y'all get the right information, and then you can make your decision from there. But when you start talking about they and them and they trying to kill us and they doing this and who's they? So we can all know. I mean, if you know something we don't know, I want us all to know. But I just want to make sure that whatever it is, that is right, that is accurate, that is true, so that my people can make an informed decision based on that. Now, if you tell me I don't want to take it because of what's happened historically, fine. That's fine. You know what I mean? We all have to make our own decisions. But I want our decisions to be based on facts, not they. Who's they? Who are they? You know what I mean? So we're going to go to break. On the other side, we're going to continue the show right here on WURD.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Last year, the Pennsylvania Lottery contributed over $1.2 billion to programs that benefit older Pennsylvanians. Programs like senior centers and hot meals, long-term living services and home care, property tax and rent rebates, transit rides, and much more. To learn more, visit PALottery.com and check out the interactive map to see how the Pennsylvania Lottery benefits older residents in your county. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly.
Hi, my name is Bobby Heenan, City Council member. The best way to show your brotherly love and sisterly affection is by keeping your social distance. If you and I keep our social distance from each other 6 feet apart at all times, it lessens the chance that I could spread the coronavirus to you or that you'll spread it to me. You must also wear a mask. A mask does not replace 6 feet, though. To receive updates about what Philly is doing, text COVID-PHL to 888-777 and have a safe day.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Many of us have heard this term before, but may not know what it really means. Compassionate living brings mindfulness and peace to the center of your daily life. Compassionate living can look like this. Number 1, be gentle with yourself and those around you. Number 2, choose to speak kindly to others, even when you're upset. Number 3, become a good listener and practice empathy at home and at work. We sometimes think in order to live with compassion, we have to become someone else. Not so. In fact, allowing peacefulness to be at the center of our daily interactions is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at wordradio.com.
Internet Essentials from Comcast. High-speed home internet for low-income families for just $9.95 per month. Visit internetessentials.com to learn more.
Wishing you and yours the very best this holiday season from the entire WURD family. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Progressive and proud.
Independent Black Media. It's Wake Up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones.
Good morning.
Right now on WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. And our next guest is Dr. Tim Golden. He is Professor of Philosophy, Legal Studies Program Coordinator, and founder of the Donald Blake Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Culture at Walla Walla University for 20 years. He was a criminal defense attorney in Philadelphia and in the federal courts. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. Nice to talk with you today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Nice to talk with you, too. So I got to ask you this before we get into it, because I always got to ask you about football. Okay, so is Jalen Hurts the truth?
He ain't lying. I can tell you that. he really put forth a great effort yesterday, man. Yeah. It was disappointing to see a loss. I think that the upside to Jalen Hurts is huge.
Yeah.
It's disappointing that Carson Wentz has never really, despite his success early on, he never really has found a home here in Philadelphia. Yeah. And that's not entirely his fault. I think that may have affected his play. But let's just look at this situation for what it is right now. After 2 games, I think Jalen Hurts has played extremely well. And whatever happens with Carson Wentz, there may be, not may be, I think there is cause for real optimism when it comes to Jalen Hurts. He reminds me of Russell Wilson a little bit. He really does. It remains to be seen whether he can take the Eagles to 2 consecutive Super Bowls like Russell Wilson did the Seahawks. But you have to wait and see. That's why you play the games. But so far, he's looked really good.
Yeah, so far so good. So I want to talk about the president. And so Trump and his advisors, specifically Michael Flynn, are talking about martial law as a means to force another election in swing states in an effort to keep Trump in office. What is martial law, and how would Trump be able to use it and the Insurrection Act to stay in power? How would he be able to use that?
Well, Solomon, the martial law is a temporary substitution of military authority for civil authority. And what it what happens with martial law is that it's generally invoked if there's some sort of natural disaster or some sort of rebellion or insurrection. So, for example, if you go back to the beginning of the pandemic, remember when there were all the armed folks that showed up, the militia people that showed up in Michigan at the State House with guns protesting? Martial law may actually, if that got out of hand, and some of these same folks, it was later discovered in the early fall, were plotting to abduct and assassinate the governor, right? If something like that had started to happen, it may have been, if the insurrection was on that big of a scale, it may have been appropriate to invoke martial law under those circumstances. But of course, we never heard anything about martial law, right? During that crisis. But now that the president is facing removal from office in less than, I guess now, just about 30 days, you hear this talk of martial law to basically set up a new election. Now, you mentioned the Insurrection Act.
Yeah.
The Insurrection Act is a federal law that was passed, I believe, in about 1807, and it allows for the president to basically institute martial law in the event that there's some sort of insurrection or national disaster, neither of which is happening here. So if the president actually tried to invoke the Insurrection Act, that would immediately give the courts, federal courts, jurisdiction, and it's very unlikely, highly unlikely, that any assertion of presidential authority under the Insurrection Act would be legitimate because there's no cause for it. There's no justification for that sort of extreme move. What the president is trying to do is, through some of his spokespersons, like Michael Flynn, is trying to bootstrap his desire to stay in the White House because he lost the election into some idea of national emergency, which is frankly just unrealistic and won't happen. But what's disturbing is that the president has chosen to surround himself with people who are going to talk like this, and this kind of discussion ultimately just continues to undermine public confidence in the election, despite the fact that there's little to no evidence that this election was illegitimate at all. In fact, I would argue no evidence that this past election was illegitimate. So this is what the president, I think, is trying to do. And from what I understand, he's also floating the idea of simply not leaving the White House on January 20th. Right.
And you know, I heard him say that, and I remember, and this was before the election, somebody asked Joe Biden, well, what if you win and Donald Trump refuses to leave the White House? And Joe Biden said, well, he will be removed with great dispatch. And it made me laugh, man, because I'm like, you know, he said it with no hesitation because, you know, at the end of the day, you might want to be there and want not to leave and all of that stuff. But, you know, I can't see him being allowed to just stay there after he's lost the election. You're not the president anymore. You got to go.
No, that's right. You're the president. The presidency is a job that you can have for the most at the maximum for 8 years. And there's only one person in the world that has access to live in the White House. There's one person in the world that has access to top secret military and intelligence information on a daily basis, and that person is the president. And when that person is no longer the president, they no longer have access. That's the way it works, right? So I doubt very seriously if he is going to be able to stay in office. And he claims, the president claims, by the way, that the discussions of martial law that were reported over the weekend are fake news, that things really didn't happen. So, I mean, you know, take it any way you want, but the fact of the matter is that Michael Flynn, it's undisputed that he was involved in the conversations that have been reported from the White House is also the one going on conservative news outlets talking about how the president can invoke martial law. So you have to look at the totality of this and take whatever the president says as part of this, and judge for yourself. Do you think these conversations really happened, or don't you, based on these circumstances? I tend to think that these conversations actually did happen, and this is why Michael Flynn is talking about martial law. But this sort of extreme behavior on part of a government is only justified in the worst of circumstances. Circumstances that are invoked more by the extreme behavior of Trump supporters and militia groups than they are by a presidential election in which there's zero evidence that it was illegitimate.
Yeah, but let's talk about an election that's coming up, because you've got a runoff January 5th in Georgia, which will decide the balance of power in the Senate. One of the candidates is Reverend Raphael Warnock. He's a black pastor and, of course, U.S. Senate candidate who's being attacked as a radical socialist by his opponent, Kelly Loeffler. They're using snippets from past sermons to press that point home. A group of black pastors now say that Loeffler's attacks are really an attack on the black church. Is race an element in the GOP's choice to target Warnock rather than the white Democrat, Jon Ossoff? What are your thoughts?
I think so, Solomon. I think in order to really get a handle on this issue here, it's important to understand the sort of mischief-making that the Christian gospel has been involved in over the years. Any responsible discussion of American Christianity has got to take into account its use to justify chattel slavery and its legacy of Jim Crow and a variety of other things connected to slavery that persist to this day. So, for example, Christian fundamentalism, a certain strain of Christian fundamentalism that comes particularly out of the South and out of the American South, the Southeast I'm talking about, is centered on justifying bondage of slaves in the United States. And this sort of thinking about Christianity has been reacted to by African Americans who have developed their own unique interpretation of the gospel that says, well, that sort of thinking is wrong, and they develop a kind of liberation theology, right? A theology that says, well, when I read my Bible, I see Moses telling Pharaoh, let my people go. I see Jesus as a carpenter, colonized carpenter from the ghetto of Nazareth, who is ministering to the needs of the poor and the marginalized. And this becomes the mantra for the black church. So when you look at Raphael Warnock, who's pastor of the historic Ebenezer Church in Atlanta, where Dr. King once pastored, he is steeped in this tradition of black theology, of African-American way of looking at the scriptures that identifies Jesus as a liberator rather than as some sort of detached cosmic entity who's there to legitimate human institutions that are oppressive. So I think in this context, there's no doubt in my mind that what you get from the critics of Raphael Warnock, that insofar as they are coming after him with snippets of sermons, they are inevitably attacking that segment of the black church that views Christianity as a mechanism of liberation rather than oppression. Now, the black church is not monolithic. There may be more conservative black churches who hold a different view that would be critical of Reverend Warnock, perhaps for some of the same reasons that Kelly Loeffler is asserting. But in the end, because, black people have varied views. Some are liberal, some are conservative, some are hybrid. So, but generally, I think given the president's appeals to race and racial divisions in this country, I don't think there's any doubt at all that they see an end to, that the president and his supporters see an end, or that Kelly Loeffler sees an end roads to exploit those racial divisions in their attacks on Raphael Warnock. Ostroff does not have that deep connection to the traditions of that segment of the black church, so those attacks aren't going to work on him. So I think race is definitely a factor.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting is that the black church has been under attack in civil rights movements. Of course, they bombed the church in Birmingham during the civil rights movement of the 1960s, killing 4 black little girls. They ripped down a Black Lives Matter sign just last weekend during a Million MAGA march on a black church in Washington, D.C. And now this attack on Reverend Raphael Warnock. And I guess my question is, do they see the black church as part of the Christian church? I mean, that has been a question for me for a long time. And the evidence that I see says that some do not.
That's right, Solomon. I agree. There is a schism in Christianity, and there's a number of schisms in Christianity, and sadly, many of them break down along racial lines. For example, consider the 2 huge sides that I just spoke about a moment ago. So you have some whites in America who believe that Christianity can only be interpreted in a certain way, and then you have African Americans who have a conception of Christianity that arises in direct opposition to that. So you have racial divisions within Christianity, and these things are almost, I hate to say this, but they're almost inextricably connected to one another. It's very difficult, Solomon, to have a conversation about Christianity in America without having a conversation about slavery.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to separate the two. Why? Because from the very beginning, Christianity was used to justify slavery. It was the principal justification for slavery and colonialism of the New World, that this was a quest for Christ, that in making Africans slaves and in taking land from indigenous persons, that whites were effectively doing good and civilizing the Western world. This goes back to Rudyard Kipling's poem, The White Man's Burden. It was one of the most racist poems that you'll ever read, right? It's a poem about how white people have this burden to civilize the world. And it says nothing of the legitimacy of Africans or African culture or indigenous people and their culture. It becomes a matter of white supremacy that is justified by the Christian gospel, by a Christian gospel, right? A certain version of that gospel that purports to be Christian and uses the scriptures to ultimately keep people in bondage. So I think that there's no doubt that Kelly Loeffler and other Trump supporters or supporters of her are trying to draw on this history of racial division and thus perpetuate it in a disturbing way, Solomon. You know, you can't say to me, we have to get beyond race and then turn around and appeal to the historical racial divisions in this country to gain political power. It just doesn't work that way. Either we're going to get past it or we're not. And if we are going to get past it, we have to start to pay attention to these historical realities and the role they play in current political discourse, or else we're just spinning our wheels.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. And that is, of course, Dr. Tim Golden. He is professor of philosophy, legal studies program coordinator, and founder of the Donald Blake Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Culture at Walla Walla University. For 20 years, He was a criminal defense attorney in Philadelphia and in the federal courts. Tim, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Solomon. Take care.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Have a good week. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. So I do want to remind you that if you are looking for an opportunity to buy black for the holidays, we've got you covered. WURD Radio is proud to present our virtual holiday marketplace online. Support local, small, black-owned businesses through the marketplace and purchase your holiday gifts today. Go to wordradio.com/marketplace or wordworks.com/marketplace. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
Do you want to help kids in foster care? CASA Youth Advocates is seeking volunteers of color to advocate for the youth they serve. 50% of kids in the Delaware and Chester County foster care system are children of color, yet only 9% of CASA Youth Advocate volunteers are people of color. Children in foster care greatly benefit from advocates who look like and can relate to them. They desperately need more volunteers of color. Visit delcocasa.org for more info. That's www.delcocasa.org.
Have you thought about your Christmas Day or New Year's Day dinner? Contact Eatable Delights Catering for one of their scrumptious packages. Call for the fire roasted chestnuts, the Natalie Cole, or the Arizona Special. They can cater for you for as little as 4 people. 215-236-3900 or stop in at 1540 Wadsworth Avenue. Order by December 21st for pickup and order for delivery by December 24th and December 25th. That's 215-236-3900.
1 month, 25 bold ideas. A more just, equitable, and prosperous Philadelphia. Join speakers like Reverend Michael Eric Dyson, MSNBC anchor Ali Velshi, LAPD Sergeant-turned-police reformer Cheryl Dorsey, author and poverty fighter Wes Moore, Black Thought of the Roots, and WURD's own Charles Ellison for the Philadelphia Citizens' 3rd Annual Ideas We Should Steal Festival. Presented by Comcast NBC Universal, Tuesdays throughout December. Find out more and reserve your spot at thephiladelphiacitizen.org/Ideas We Should Steal Festival. For WURD members, check your email for discounts and complimentary access details. Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDRadio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media. You're waking up with WURD, hosted by Solomon Jones. Good morning. Right now on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Good morning. This is Solomon Jones on 900 AM, 96.1 FM, WURD, and I want to welcome you back to Wake Up with WURD. And I want to welcome our next guest, Nafis Norris. He is a North Philly native, and he is the first African-American student to be accepted to a new biopharmaceutical program at Thomas Jefferson University. Nafis, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. So So tell us about this this bio. Well, first tell us about you. What made you interested in biopharmaceuticals?
I had no clue that if I can be totally transparent, I had no clue that this even existed until about a little less than a year ago.
Okay.
I was just introduced to a professor that taught at the school through a former pastor of mine, and we ended up going for a tour of the school, and then the tour turned into an interview, and he introduced me to the whole concept of biopharmaceutical engineering. So, yeah, that's how it all happened to me.
And so you go on this tour, and I'm curious, what made them look at you as, well, wait a minute, this is somebody who could be in this program. What stood out about you?
I had a little bit of a background of already having an experience and working in a lab with an internship I did, but it was mainly, the teacher, the professor. I've never met a black man that was a PhD in this field. So right then and off the bat, me and him connected very well. And it was just like, for me, before he even said two words out of his mouth, I already admired him. So, and they're just good, loving people up at Jefferson University. They made me feel like, I was wanted there, and I just went for it.
And so, so now you're on the road to becoming a scientist, man. Tell us about where you grew up.
I grew up in Nicetown, North Philadelphia. A small street called Estall Street, right off 20th and Tioga. Not the best of neighborhoods, but I can say it was the best neighborhood for me to make me who I am.
And so, 20th and Tioga, you're in the Nicetown, Tioga section of Philadelphia. What do you hope to bring from your upbringing and from your neighborhood and from what you've gained in terms of who you are to this field?
Work ethic, consistency, resilience. There's a lot of, growing up in North Philly, you're faced with so many challenges, and, the competition, even like in schools or, whether if you're at the playground, it's very high. You know what I mean? And I've just always, mind you, I grew up the youngest of seven. So I was already, I guess you could say in competitive mode with my older siblings, and just a little thing. But, yeah, that's what I hope to bring to the table is the work ethic, the drive. My biggest fear is to, one, not live out my purpose, and two, to be outworked. So that's always one thing I want to bring to the table, especially to this field.
And so what does this field entail? So it's a biopharmaceutical process engineer's master's program. What does that entail? What do you actually do?
So the term that we because the focus is bioprocessing engineering. So bioprocessing is just it's different processes that uses complete living cells or components like enzymes or bacteria to make medicine or vaccines for a pharmaceutical company. So basically, in layman's terms, I'm making medicine using, living components like bacteria and everything like that. And what I do in particular is the upstream part. Upstream is just creating the environment for the medicine to, grow and get started.
And so what are these kinds of medicines used for?
Medicines, like I said, vaccines for various different things. Medicines like Keytruda that can treat lung cancer and skin cancer. Opdivo, same thing. Medicines like that can treat different cancers or Alzheimer's and things like that.
So you're the first African American in this program. I guess my question for you, because we have some people who talk about science as if it's something that some people somewhere who don't have names or faces that they do, right? And here you are as a young black man entering into this field. What do you hope this means for other African Americans coming behind you?
That they can do it too. You know, that's been my main thing. I've never really seen like something, you know, you always think of a scientist as like a nerdy guy, a guy that wears khakis, his shirt tucked in all the time and can't really socialize. But I want to break that mold, and, you know, we are pretty cool and dope people, you know what I mean? And I want them to see that, you know, we can do much more than fiddle with a mic and dribble a ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to show that, you know, I'll be honest, coming from Philly, you got some of the most talented people in the world here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's just that we don't have the resources. We don't have the, you know, we don't have anybody pushing us. I can't tell you how many advisors and teachers have told me I would amount to nothing, so I can only imagine, like, you know, what else is being said out there to the students. So I want them to see that, you know, this can be done. You can do it. You know, that's why I'm very transparent with my story. I've failed in college. I've failed 4 classes, all of them being science classes. You know what I mean? Like, people don't know I almost got kicked out the program. I graduated with a 2.8 GPA, but I remind people that my work ethic was a 4.0. As long as you work hard, you know, and you put God first in your life, and you work really hard at your craft, your dreams will really never come true. Something greater will, because I couldn't have drew this up, honestly.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of people think that there's a separation between God and science, and here you are in the process of becoming a scientist, and you talk about putting God in your life. How do the two coexist for you?
Well, for me, God is the creator of all things. You know what I mean? He put everything here. That's where my curiosity started. He put everything here. I always looked at it as he put everything on this earth for us. It was just, and he gave us the intelligence to use what we have. You know what I mean? God already gives us the tools. For example, he gave us a tree. Now we have paper. Now we have, you know, houses and things like that. You know what I mean? From a tree. You know what I mean? He gave us fruit. He gave us vitamins to keep us healthy, strong. You know what I mean? So God is I never really understood why people would say, you know, God and science is different. Like, when God is the creator of science and intelligence. You know, to me.
Yeah. Well, to me too, and I agree wholeheartedly. And so, for the young people coming up behind you, young men, young women, coming up out of, you know, neighborhoods like ours, because I grew up, spent my teenage years 25th in Oxford. Coming out of neighborhoods like ours, you know, what advice would you give them in order to pursue the path that you find yourself on now?
There's a couple things. The main thing is, the first thing I said is put God first and work really, really hard at your craft. Two, this is a big thing that a lot of people don't do is network. It's not always about what you know; it's about who you know. And then like just networking. Honestly, you got to be bold. You got to be approachable. You got to be willing. And the third thing I think is the biggest thing, especially for my generation, is be humble. Be humble enough to be corrected. Because in this field, because, you know, in the Bible it tells us all the time, especially in Proverbs, a wise man taketh correction.
That's right.
So it's just a matter of being humble, and, you know, employers look at that. You know what I mean? I've failed many experiments. As a matter of fact, there's an experiment that I've done that only takes 2 days that took me 4 months. You know what I mean? That's extremely long to get a 2-day experiment done. But, you know, I had to be humble enough to be criticized. I had to be humble enough to take the critical criticism. You know what I mean? So that, you know, as long as you know, the work ethic, you put God first, you network, and you stay humble, you can get anywhere you can go, because your character will take you places your talent can't. So that's how I've always looked at it.
Very true. Very true. That's Nafis Norris. He's a North Philly native, the first African-American student accepted into Thomas Jefferson University's Biopharmaceutical Process Engineering Master's Program. Brother, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning on WURD.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. Kawesa, he said, put God first. The boy, a scientist, he said, put God first. I almost got up, started shouting. You almost saw me do it. You know what I mean? So I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number that you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio, and let us know where you are on these various things we are talking about on this morning's show, 215-634-8065. You can also, of course, weigh in on Facebook at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Let's go to the phone lines and take Jim from West Philly on line 1. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, good morning, Solomon.
Good morning.
I wanted to relate because my son, he went to Drexel, and he has a master's in biomedical engineering. And it wasn't an easy thing to do, because he stayed up half the night down in the library and everything. But I was so proud that day when I sat in the audience like a lump of coal in a snowfield and watched him go up on stage and accept his degree. What's happening now, and tell you the truth, there was an inaugural class of biomedical engineering at Drexel of 150 students.
Yes.
He wasn't the only black, but he was the only American black in the whole class.
Okay.
So that shows you how hard it is. And the worst thing is being prepared to even be able to go to the university or whatever, the background you have to have in different courses and stuff to even qualify to get in there. And that's why I'm so down on what they're doing in the school systems here, where they're not preparing kids to go from the 12th grade into college or whatever. You have to go to a community college or something to pick up stuff that they didn't give you that you're required to get in these programs. And that's ridiculous. But he fought his way through. He's been employed. Now, he was employed a week after he graduated. He was employed down at the University of Penn, worked there 5 years. Now he's working at another company. But in truth, he doesn't even do biomedical engineering. He writes computer programs, basically because it's so similar. But what's coming to medicine now, we're going to start being treated on a genetic basis. That's the future, individual, so that you don't have the side effects and all of that. There's so much coming to medicine that it's just going to be unbelievable. And that's why now we have these vaccines and stuff, because truth be told, the groundwork was set for these vaccines and stuff back in 2008. after the SARS epidemic. Scientists
right, because SARS was a coronavirus.
Right.
It's the same type of virus, but it is a new strain of it, which is why it's called the novel coronavirus. But you're right. The groundwork was set because you already had a similar disease that they were already working on. So you're absolutely right. And I want to thank you so much for your call this morning on WURD Radio. Let's go to break. We're going to go to break. On the other side, we are going to do What's Trending, and then it's right back to your calls. Renee from West Oak Lane, Sarah from North Philly. I'm Solomon Jones. This is WURD. We'll be right back.
This health and humanitarian crisis has shaken us all, as neighbors and as a nation. At Bank of America, we came together as a company and as a community with an unwavering commitment to advance racial equality and economic opportunity. We're thankful for the tireless efforts of our employees, partners, healthcare, and essential workers in the communities we serve. And we remain fully committed to the work ahead in 2021. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC, equal credit opportunity lender.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
At Champion Dentistry, we want to make sure your smile is as healthy as it is beautiful. Whether you're calling for a routine checkup, calling about a newly developed toothache, or interested in learning about cosmetic dentistry options. Our services include routine checkups, cosmetic dentistry, gum care, laser dentistry, and more. Champion Dentistry is in the Overbrook Farm section of the city, easily reachable by public transportation. Call 215-473-4717 to schedule an appointment today or visit championdentistry.org, the House of Smiles.
It's Wake Up with Word, hosted by Solomon Jones. Right now on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Circuits are busy. Here's what's trending.
Yo, that's crazy.
On Wake Up with Word.
The relatives of one of the men who were in the Tuskegee syphilis study say they will take the COVID-19 vaccine as soon as they can get it. Lily Tyson Head and Carmen Head Thornton, the daughter and granddaughter of one of the men who was involved in the experiment, says it shouldn't be used as a reason to forego protection against the coronavirus.
And Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is finally out on Netflix, and the film that stars Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman is nothing short of triumphant. Black Bottom follows the fearless and fiery Ma Rainey, played by Viola Davis, as she and her band come to town to attempt a one-day recording session of her music. Chadwick Boseman plays Levy, an ambitious cornet player who is determined to stake his own claim on the music industry.
And many celebrities took to social media to celebrate the life of Emmy and Tony Award-winning actress Cicely Tyson in honor of her 96th birthday on Saturday. With a career spanning 7 decades, Tyson is known for her notable performances in Sounder, the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, Diary of a Mad Black Woman, and The Help. And that is what's trending.
All right, so that's what's trending right here on WURD Radio. We are, of course, taking your calls at 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Cicely Tyson is 96 now. She was playing a 100-year-old woman like 40 years ago in the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. You remember that, Kwesa?
I do. I actually have seen the movie a few times, and it's such an amazing film. And she is such an amazing woman. Like, to 7 decades, in the industry. Oh my gosh, she's a living legacy. She really, really is.
She's 96, looks 66.
Yep.
Black don't crack.
It doesn't. It sure doesn't.
So I want to hear from you. Give me a call, 215-634-8065. That is 215-634-8065. That is the number you can call to get in on the conversation right here at WURD Radio. Of course, people weighing in on Facebook at FORWURD. That's FORWURD, FORWURD. Kawesa, what are they saying this morning on Facebook?
So we do have a couple of comments in here this morning. Roxanne Jones, good morning to you. She's saying, love this convo. Whatever you do, if you put God first, you will rise. So that's one comment that we have here. And then we also have LaFrance Howard saying exposure, but I'm not quite sure what that might be in reference to. Sorry about that. Cleo Weekend says Dr. Golden is always on point. Terry Lynn Davis Covington, good morning, Word family. So good morning right back to you. And then we also have Diane Fassett saying a great segment by Dr. Golden, and Walter Davis saying appreciating what I call always truth and living proof from Dr. Tim Platinum Golden. So that's another comment that we have here on our Facebook page. But yes, thank you so much for everybody who's been weighing in this morning. Those are our comments.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go to the phone lines. Renee from West Oak Lane is online too. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Salma, Kawesa, and Reverend people. I just want to get into the aspect of why maybe a lot of black people or maybe other races feel uncomfortable and skeptical about the vaccine. I would like to say your comment, Solomon, on polio vaccine versus the COVID vaccine. Now, with polio, when they came out with that vaccine, it didn't have as many complex situations as the COVID vaccine. Like, there's a lot of experts that still doing research, and they still don't have a lot of data on the COVID-19 vaccine. That makes people maybe feel uncomfortable. And
Who doesn't have a lot of data? So they went through 3 phases of trials, and that's standard for any vaccine. And that in that 3rd phase, I think they had, and that's the human phase where you give the vaccine to humans. They had 30 to 40,000 people in each trial, one for Pfizer and one for Moderna. So I don't understand what you mean by they don't have a lot of data on the vaccine.
Well, what I'm saying about a lot of experts said they were still doing research on this COVID and on certain things about COVID. Just like a lot of people have allergic reaction to it.
No, they had 2 people who had allergic reactions in Great Britain when they distributed it. And 2 out of thousands is really not a lot. But I hear you. I think that what you mean rather than allergic reactions is side effects. Now, certainly you will have side effects to most medications. And the side effect for the COVID-19 vaccine, my understanding is, you might have a headache and some other flu-like symptoms for a day, but that those do not last indefinitely.
Right, but what I heard, they said that people that had taken EpiPen or have allergies or allergic to, like you said, a couple of people, that they shouldn't take the 2nd dose. Now,
I didn't hear that, and I want to make sure that so if you can call us back and let us know where you heard that, then we could do a little bit of research on it. But we haven't heard that. But what we will do, and I want to thank you for your call, is have Dr. Elena McDonald and Dr. Delana Wardlaw on tomorrow, and we'll ask them about that. Because, again, I think that we're learning as we go. You know what I mean, Kawesa? Like, this is new. Now, we've both had this thing, and thank God, our cases were mild. But I think that with anything that is new, you're learning about it as you go, and you're trying to get as much correct information about it as you possibly can.
Yeah, I think that, you're definitely right about that. And, and that's why, we continue to have, the twin docs on to talk about this and to really, kind of let folks know what's going on, what's happening, and everything is new. And so, it is a learning curve, and everybody's trying to figure it out. And I think that, like I said earlier, everyone's going to have to kind of, come up with, their own conclusion as to what they want to do in regards to taking it. You know, me having had it, I'm still on the fence, but I will say that, like Solomon said earlier, you know, we have some time. We have some time to really kind of look at what's going on, look at what's happening, and we can make an educated choice and decision, you know, once we get to the point where we're able to take it. So I think that's what, you know, everybody's going to just have to kind of do at this point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so, too. Let's go to Sarah from North Philly on line 3. Go ahead, Sarah.
Good morning, King Solomon and Queen Clarissa. Just be careful and use your discernment.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if they kill the king and the queen, the foundation gets weak or it's collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, you know, my son, Myron Motenville, on 8775, has been wrongfully convicted for the last 25 years. I had a tape to prove his innocence, but the DA said it was inadmissible, so he fired his defense lawyer for ineffective counseling. His appeal lawyer, Gerald Stein, got to put him in forgot to put in his appeal, so he got time barred. Technically, I found out that he got life guilty by association in hearsay, because my niece and I, we sat there and listened to the DA, Emery Cole, tell his star witness, you can't say I heard. You have to say, you know, he told me this. Also, 2 cops stated, I'm sorry, Your Honor, we botched up the whole case. If my son had been white, that would have been a done deal. My son stated, Mom, there are a lot of innocent men here in prison, and, you know, they need to get out as well as me. But these ones, they did get out. I think they need to reach back and try to HBO, help a brother out. Thank you for taking my call. And remember, Sarah smiles with you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate your call this morning on WURD. Muhammad from West Philly is on line 4. Go ahead, Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan advised us not to take the vaccine, brother.
Did he?
I trust him a lot more than the government, than the health care system, which is really not a good one. You know, and most of what I've heard from the black doctors has not really included information about the safety and efficacy or the contents of this vaccine. This Moderna organization.
Wait a minute, bro. Do you listen to this show?
I listen to the show, but I haven't heard anything about what the contents of the vaccine contains.
Well, what do you want them to tell you about what the vaccine contains?
I want them to say that what they know about the contents of the vaccines is safe and effective for our
That's what they
community.
said. That's what Muhammad, thank you for your call, man. I can't. Thank you. Because, you know, I can see if you said, you know, I don't know, somebody else didn't. But, you know, the reason why that bothers me is because every week, right, we ask, you know, 2 doctors, 2 board-certified physicians from North Philly, right, about what's going on with this virus. We've walked with them over the course of months through the development of the vaccine, through the ups and downs with the infections, through the deaths in our community, through disproportionate black people being affected. Like, so, you know, to say that they haven't said anything about the efficacy of the vaccine or about anything else concerning this, man, it's just not true. So thank you for your call. Sister Murray from University City is on line 1. Go ahead, Sister Murray.
Good morning, Solomon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I hope you had a great weekend.
I did.
Very good. I want to share Matthew 11:28. Come to me all who are burdened and weary, and I will give you rest. And also, Solomon, a Christmas song that I love to hear by the Emotions, What Can the Lonely Do at Christmas Time?
Oh, Lord, that's a sad song.
What do the lonely do at Christmas? I love that song.
Okay.
And you know what, Solomon? When I'm feeling a little down, I turn it on and turn it up and let it run and play it over and over again. And I feel so much better. You have a blessed day.
All right, you too. I want to thank you for your call this morning on WURD. Let's go to Brother Michael from Columbus, Ohio, on line 2. Go ahead, Brother Michael.
Hey, Solomon, good morning. So just two quick things. First of all, I wanted to thank the station and yourself and all the hosts. The information and the doctors around the vaccine has definitely been a game changer in my mind, and as well as me communicating it to family and community. So thank you.
You're welcome.
The experts are tremendous, and I just don't have access to those types of experts down here, unfortunately. So for me, not being in Philadelphia right now, but from Philadelphia, it's just been good. And I was on a conference call this weekend for an organization I volunteer with down here. It's called the African American Wellness Walking Agency. And they're actually starting an agency in Philadelphia. And I was telling the CEO about the information I got off of WURD as well. So hopefully the executive director will be reaching out to the doctors or maybe even the station to see how they can get involved and have that be a part of their project. But again, thank you so much for the clear, honest information. I really, really appreciate it, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I want to thank you for your call. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in on today's show, including, of course, all of our guests, Tremaine Joseph Hicks and his attorney, Susan Lynn, also lawyer and critical race theorist, Dr. Tim Golden, and Nafis Norris, who is a new student in the biopharmaceutical program at Thomas Jefferson University. And, of course, I want to thank all of you. And now, for super producer Kawesa Mathis and everyone here at WURD Radio, I am your host, Solomon Jones, saying stay tuned for Reality Check with Charles Ellison, and tune in tomorrow at 7 for more Wake Up with WURD. Peace.